Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the carrier Indomitable. Through the massive viewing screen, she watched her world burn. Earth's blue oceans now reflected the orange glow of burning cities. The alien ships hung above like dark clouds, raining destruction on everything below. "Ma'am, we've lost contact with the London defense grid," reported Lieutenant Torres from his station. His voice was steady, but Chen could see his hands shaking as he worked the controls. Chen nodded without looking away from the screen. She had stopped counting how many defense stations they had lost. The numbers didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that 3 billion people lived on the planet below, and she was all that stood between them and complete destruction. The hegemony fleet stretched across space like a wall of crystal and metal. Their ships were beautiful in a cold way, smooth, surfaces that caught starlight and threw it back in rainbow patterns. But those same ships had turned 50 human colonies into dead rocks floating in space. "Status report," Chen ordered. "We have 12 ships left in fighting condition," said Commander Park, her second in command. "The Wellington and Moscow are heavily damaged but still firing. Ammunition is running low across the fleet." Chen closed her eyes for a moment. When the day started, she had commanded 43 ships. Now she had 12. The math was simple and terrible. The hegemony had come without warning 6 months ago. Their first message was not a greeting or a demand. It was an order. "Surrender your world and join our empire. You have 1 solar day to comply." Humanity's answer had been a missile strike on their flagship. That was probably a mistake. The aliens responded by burning New Tokyo to ash in 15 minutes. Then Sydney, then Cairo. Each city that died was a message. Give up or watch your world burn. But humans were stubborn. Admiral Chen was especially stubborn. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the hegemony flagship," Torres announced. "Put it through." The main screen flickered and showed the face of the hegemony commander. It looked almost human except for the pale blue skin and the extra eyes that sat where a human's temples would be. When it spoke, its voice was like ice cracking. "Human Admiral, your resistance is meaningless. We have destroyed your defenses. Your cities burn. Your people die. End this now, and some may live." Chen straightened her uniform jacket and stepped forward. "Commander, I have a message for you and your empire. Humanity does not surrender. We do not bow. We do not give up. Not today. Not ever." The alien's extra eyes blinked slowly. "Then you choose extinction." "We choose to fight." The screen went dark. Chen turned to her crew. Every face on the bridge was looking at her. These people had followed her through 6 months of hell. They had watched friends die and worlds burn. They were tired, scared, and running out of hope. But they were still here. "All right, people," she said. "You heard the alien. They want to fight. Let's give them one they'll remember." A cheer went up from the bridge crew. It wasn't a happy sound, it was the sound people make when they know they're probably going to die but plan to make it expensive for the other side. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen," she said into the comm system. "We're going to make one last push. Target their command ship. If we're going down, we're taking that ice-faced bastard with us." The human ships moved forward. They were small compared to the hegemony vessels, but they moved fast and hit hard. The Indomitable led the charge, her fighters streaming out like angry wasps. The space around Earth lit up with weapons fire. Human missiles met alien energy beams in bright explosions. The Wellington took a direct hit that tore off her entire port side, but she kept firing until the last moment. The Moscow rammed a hegemony cruiser when her weapons failed, both ships disappearing in a ball of light. Chen gripped her command chair as the ship shook from enemy fire. "Hull breach on deck 7, someone shouted. "Fire in the hangar bay," called another voice. The ship was dying around them, but still they fought. "Admiral," Lieutenant Torres called out, his voice sharp with surprise. "I'm reading something on long-range sensors. Big energy signature coming in from the outer system." Chen looked at the tactical display. There, moving fast from the direction of Jupiter, was something that shouldn't exist. The energy readings were massive, bigger than anything in the human fleet, bigger than anything in the hegemony fleet. "What is it?" Park asked. "Unknown," Torres replied. "It's not matching any known ship types, human or alien." Chen felt a cold weight in her stomach. "Is it another hegemony force?" "No, ma'am. The energy patterns are completely different and—" Torres paused, checking his readings again. "It's on an intercept course with the hegemony fleet, not us." Through the chaos of battle, Chen tried to make sense of this new development. Another alien race? Some kind of hegemony reinforcement that their sensors couldn't identify? Or something else entirely? The hegemony seemed to notice the new arrival too. Some of their ships began turning away from the human fleet to face this unknown threat. Their commander's voice cut through the communication channels, speaking in the clicking language of his people. "Ma'am, whatever it is, it's big," Park said, reading over Torres's shoulder. "Mass readings suggest it's at least twice the size of their largest dreadnought." Chen stared at the tactical display as the unknown contact grew closer. In her mind, she ran through the possibilities. Another enemy would mean the end of everything. But if this newcomer was hostile to the hegemony... "All ships hold position," she ordered. "Let's see what our new friend wants to do." The bridge fell quiet except for the sounds of damage control teams working throughout the ship. Everyone watched the sensors as the massive unknown ship approached the battle zone. The hegemony fleet was repositioning, clearly as confused as the humans about this new arrival. Chen thought about her daughter, safe in the underground shelters of Colorado. She thought about the 3 billion people counting on her to keep fighting. She thought about all the human worlds that had already fallen to the hegemony's crystal ships. Whatever was coming, it would change everything. The question was whether that change would save humanity or destroy it completely. "Time to contact?" she asked. 12 minutes at current speed," Torres answered. Chen nodded and settled back into her command chair. 12 minutes to find out if humanity had found a miracle, or if their last hope was about to be crushed along with everything else. The ship shuddered again as another hegemony beam found its mark. In the distance, Earth continued to burn. But for the first time in months, Admiral Sarah Chen allowed herself to wonder if, maybe, just maybe, the war wasn't over yet. The unknown ship kept coming, growing larger on their sensors with each passing second. And in the deep cold of space, something that had been hidden for 3 centuries prepared to reveal itself to the galaxy once more. The space near Jupiter rippled like water. Admiral Chen watched on her screen as reality itself seemed to bend and twist. Then, like a ghost becoming solid, the massive ship appeared. "My God," whispered Commander Park. Chen understood his shock. The vessel was huge, easily the largest thing she had ever seen in space. But it wasn't built like any ship she knew. Instead of metal and sharp angles, it looked almost alive. Its hull curved and flowed like the shell of some great sea creature. Strange lights pulsed along its length in patterns that seemed to have meaning. "What the hell is that thing?" someone muttered. The ship moved toward the hegemony fleet with smooth grace. No visible engines, no exhaust trails. It just glided through space like it belonged there. As it came closer, Chen could see more details. The hull wasn't solid metal, but something that looked almost organic, covered in ridges and channels that glowed with soft blue light. "Admiral, it's opening fire," Torres announced. The mysterious ship didn't use missiles or energy beams like normal warships. Instead, space itself seemed to twist around the hegemony vessels. Chen watched in amazement as a crystal cruiser simply folded in on itself and disappeared. Another enemy ship stretched like taffy before snapping back to its original shape, except now it was spinning out of control with its engines dead. "Those aren't weapons I recognize," Park said. "It's like they're changing the rules of physics." The hegemony fleet tried to fight back. Their rainbow energy beams struck the strange ship's hull and simply stopped. The beams didn't bounce off or get absorbed. They just ended, as if they had never existed at all. "Admiral," Torres called out, excitement clear in his voice. "I'm picking up a transmission. It's on an old human frequency. One we haven't used in over 200 years. Chen felt her heart skip. "Put it through." The main screen flickered and filled with static. Then slowly, an image formed. It was a man's face, but not quite human. His features were too perfect, his eyes too bright. His skin had a faint shimmer that caught the light. When he spoke, his voice carried an accent Chen had only heard in old historical recordings. "This is Captain Marcus Webb of the generation ship Prometheus," the man said. "We have returned to find our homeworld under attack. Admiral, permission to engage the enemy?" The bridge fell silent. Chen stared at the screen, her mind racing. The Prometheus was legend. One of the great generation ships that had left Earth 300 years ago to find new worlds for humanity. Like all the others, it had vanished into the darkness between stars. Everyone assumed they had been lost. "Captain Webb," Chen said slowly. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We thought you were dead. All of you." The man who called himself Webb smiled. and there was something sad in his expression. Dead? No, Admiral. We have been very much alive, but we are no longer what we once were. We have changed. As if to prove his point, the Prometheus struck another hegemony ship with impossible weapons. This time the enemy vessel aged 1,000 years in seconds, its hull rusting and crumbling to dust in moments. Changed how? Chen asked. We met something. In the void, Webb replied. Something old and wise. They offered us a choice. Continue as we were and probably die in the empty darkness, or accept their gift and become something more. We chose to evolve. Another hegemony ship tried to ram the Prometheus. The alien vessel simply passed through, the hull like it was made of fog. When it emerged on the other side, the hegemony ship was no longer there. Webb barely seemed to notice. 300 years we have traveled, he continued. 300 years of learning, growing, changing. We became connected, not just to each other, but to the universe itself. We learned to see time as a river we could step in and out of. We learned to fold space like paper. We learned to become one with the void between atoms. Chen felt overwhelmed. There were 12 generation ships. Are the others? They live, Webb said with pride. And they are coming. Each ship found its own path, developed its own gifts. But we never forgot our origin. We never forgot Earth. On the tactical display, Chen could see new contacts appearing throughout the solar system. Ships decloaking near Mars, others materializing in the asteroid belt, more appearing in the orbit of Saturn. Each was unique. Some looked like living metal, others seemed to be made of crystallized light, and one appeared to be constructed from folded space itself. The Odyssey specializes in matter manipulation, Webb explained, as if reading her thoughts. The Argonaut has mastered time. The Magellan folds dimensions like origami. Each ship, each family found their own way to transcend human limitations. One of the newly arrived ships, a vessel that looked like it was made of flowing quicksilver, approached a cluster of hegemony cruisers. It didn't fire weapons. Instead, the enemy ships simply began to melt. Their crystal hulls turned liquid and flowed apart, leaving the crews floating helplessly in space. This is impossible, Park whispered. Physics doesn't work this way. Webb's enhanced hearing caught the comment. Commander, physics is just the universe's way of organizing reality. When you truly understand it, you can suggest improvements. The hegemony commander's face appeared on another channel, his extra eyes wide with something that might have been fear. He spoke rapidly in his own language before switching to English. What are you? The alien demanded. These weapons, this technology, it should not exist. Webb turned his attention to the enemy commander. When he spoke, his voice was gentle but firm. We are humanity's children, grown beyond their parents' dreams. We are what your people could have become if you had chosen growth over conquest, the alien snarled. Impossible. The scan showed primitive bipeds, weak, limited. You scanned baseline humanity, Webb corrected. You never looked for us. We have been waiting, watching, preparing. When we left Earth, we were seekers and explorers. The void between stars taught us patience. Chen found her voice. Captain Webb, we're grateful for your help, but Earth's defenses are nearly gone. Even with your ships, can we really win this? Webb's expression grew serious. Admiral, the hegemony is not your true enemy. They are refugees running from something far worse. Something that devours entire star systems to feed its growth. We have been fighting this enemy for 50 years, falling back system by system. A chill ran down Chen's spine. What are you saying? I'm saying the hegemony came to Earth not just to conquer it, but to hide behind it. And their enemy has followed them here. As if summoned by his words, new contacts appeared on the edge of the solar system. These were not ships, but something else. Vast mechanical structures that looked like they could process an entire planet. They moved with purpose toward the inner system, and Chen could feel their hunger even across the void. The Devourers, Webb said quietly. They come to harvest everything. Hegemony, human, enhanced human alike. This is why we returned, Admiral. Not just to save our birth world, but to make our final stand. Chen looked around her bridge at her exhausted, frightened crew. Then she looked at the impossible ships that claimed to be humanity's lost children. Finally, she looked at Earth burning but still fighting below. What do you need from us? She asked. Webb smiled, and for a moment he looked fully human again. What we have always needed from Earth's children, Admiral. Your courage, your stubbornness, and your absolute refusal to give up. We may have evolved beyond human limitations, but we never want to lose what made us human in the first place. The first Devourer-Harvester entered the orbit of Pluto, and Chen knew that the real battle was about to begin. Captain Marcus Webb's image flickered as the Prometheus engaged 3 hegemony ships at once. Admiral Chen watched him fight with impossible weapons while carrying on a conversation, as if nothing was happening. "Tell me about these gardeners," Chen said, trying to understand what had happened to humanity's lost children. Webb nodded as his ship folded space around an enemy cruiser, trapping it in a pocket dimension. "We had been traveling for 37 years when we found them. Or, rather, they found us. The Prometheus was dying, reactor failing, life support breaking down, people losing hope. On Chen's tactical display, she could see the other enhanced ships moving through the battle like dancers. The Odyssey turned an asteroid into a swarm of guided missiles. The Magellan appeared and disappeared, striking from angles that shouldn't exist. Each ship moved with perfect coordination, as if they shared a single mind. The gardeners appeared in our path," Webb continued. "Not to threaten us, but to offer us a choice. They had been watching younger species for millions of years, helping those who showed promise." "What kind of help?" Commander Park asked. Webb's expression grew distant, remembering. "They didn't give us technology or weapons. They gave us connection. They showed us how to link our minds, our souls, our very existence with the fabric of reality itself. But the choice had to be unanimous. Every person on every ship." Chen found that hard to believe. "Everyone agreed?" "Not at first," Webb admitted. "There were debates that lasted months. Some wanted to continue as we were, remain purely human. Others saw the gift as humanity's next step in evolution. In the end, it was the children who convinced us. The Prometheus destroyed 2 more hegemony ships with weapons that seemed to age them to death." Chen was beginning to understand that Webb's people didn't just use advanced technology. They had become something beyond normal physics. "The children saw it clearly," Webb said with a smile. "They asked why we would choose to stay weak when we could become strong enough to help others. Why remain limited when we could grow? Why fear change, when change might save not just us but everyone we loved back on Earth?" Another enhanced ship appeared on Chen's sensors. This one looked like it was built from crystallized music, its hull singing with harmonics that made the bridge crew feel peaceful despite the battle raging around them. "That's the harmony," Webb explained. "They developed empathic abilities. They can feel the emotions of entire worlds, heal minds damaged by war and loss." He paused as his ship destroyed an enemy dreadnought by convincing its atoms to become something else. Each ship took a different path. We 12 families became specialists in different aspects of universal connection. Chen studied the tactical display. The enhanced ships were winning, but new hegemony reinforcements kept arriving. "Captain, you said the hegemony isn't the real enemy. What are these devourers?" Webb's face darkened. "Machines. Ancient, endless, hungry machines. They were created by a species that wanted to preserve itself forever. Instead, they became something that devours everything to fuel its own expansion." As if summoned by his words, the first Devourer-Harvester cleared Pluto's orbit. Chen stared at the readings in horror. The thing was the size of a small moon, covered in mechanical tentacles and processing centers. It didn't look built so much as grown, like some terrible metal cancer. "They consume entire solar systems," Webb continued. "Strip planets down to their cores, break down stars for energy, process all life into raw materials for more harvesters. The gardeners have been fighting them for eons, but they're losing." More Devourer ships appeared on the sensors, dozens of them, all moving toward the inner system with single-minded purpose. Chen realized that Earth's sun itself was probably their target. "Why here?" she asked. "Why did they follow the hegemony to Earth?" "Because the hegemony has something they want," Webb replied. "The crystal technology that powers their ships contains a rare element the Devourers use to build their quantum processors. Earth was supposed to be a hiding place, but it became a trap." Chen felt sick. "So we're all going to die because aliens used our world as a shelter?" "Not if we can help it," said a new voice. Another face appeared on the communication screen, a woman who looked like she was made of starlight. Her skin seemed to contain entire galaxies, and her eyes held the depth of space itself. "Captain Sarah Martinez of the Infinity," the woman said. "We manipulate quantum states. We can be in multiple realities at once, see all possible futures, choose the best paths through probability." More captains joined the call. Captain James Roosevelt of the New Frontier could control gravity itself. Captain Liu Wei of the Dragon had learned to exist partially in hyperspace. Captain Elena Kozlov of the Sputnik could manipulate time flow around her ship. 12 ships, 12 families, 12 different paths to transcendence, Webb explained. But we all remember our beginning. We all remember Earth. Chen looked around her bridge at her baseline human crew. They seemed so fragile compared to these evolved descendants of humanity. What can we do? We're just normal humans. Normal? Webb laughed. Admiral, do you know what makes humans special? It's not strength or speed or intelligence. It's your refusal to accept defeat. Your ability to find hope in hopeless situations. Your talent for doing the impossible when everything logical says to give up. Captain Martinez nodded. We've spent 3 centuries becoming more than human, but we never want to lose what made us human in the first place. That stubborn, crazy determination to keep fighting no matter what. The Devourer harvesters were accelerating toward Mars. Chen could see smaller machines detaching from the main ships, scout units that would analyze Earth's defenses and population before the harvest began. The gardeners chose to enhance us because they recognized humanity's potential, Webb said. But they also warned us that evolution without purpose is just change. We needed to remember why we wanted to become more than we were, to protect the people we love, Chen said, understanding. Exactly. We became gods not to rule but to serve. We transcended human limitations not to abandon humanity, but to save it. The enhanced ships began changing formation, arranging themselves, in patterns that hurt Chen's eyes to look at directly. She realized they were preparing for something that required all 12 ships working together. What's the plan? She asked. Webb smiled, and for a moment, he looked exactly like the human explorer his ancestors had been. We're going to do what the gardeners never could. We're going to stop the Devourers completely. But we need your help. Our help? What can baseline humans do that you can't? You can be human, Captain Martinez answered. The Devourers are pure logic, perfect efficiency. They can predict and counter everything we do because we follow patterns they understand. But baseline humans, you're chaotic, random. You do things that make no sense and somehow make them work. Chen began to understand. You need our unpredictability. We need your humanity, Webb corrected. The gardeners enhanced our abilities but warned us never to lose our human hearts. Those hearts are what will win this battle. The Devourer fleet reached Mars and began to deploy. Billions of smaller machines spread out like a plague, ready to strip the red planet bare. But Chen felt hope for the first time in months. Humanity's lost children had come home and they were going to fight. The 12 enhanced ships moved into formation around Earth like ancient guardians awakening. Admiral Chen watched from the Indomitable as reality itself seemed to bend around them. Space twisted, time flowed in different directions, and matter obeyed rules that hurt her brain to think about. The Devourer harvesters responded by releasing their smaller units. Millions of mechanical parasites spread through the solar system like a plague of metal locusts. Each one was the size of a fighter craft, but they moved with perfect coordination that no human fleet could match. My God, there are so many of them, whispered Lieutenant Torres. Captain Webb appeared on the main screen again. His ship, the Prometheus, was doing something impossible, existing in several places at once, fighting battles across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Admiral, we need to merge our forces, Webb said. Your ships, the surviving hegemony vessels, and our people. Create a unified fleet. Chen frowned. The hegemony? They tried to destroy us. Why would they help? Because they're dying too, came a new voice. The hegemony commander appeared on another channel. His pale blue skin had turned almost white, and his extra eyes were wide with fear. When he spoke, his words were rushed and desperate. Human Admiral, my name is Fleetmaster Thyron. My people, we have made a terrible mistake. We thought your species was primitive, weak. We were wrong. Chen stared at the alien who had burned her cities. You killed billions of my people, and I will carry that shame until I die, Thyron replied. But if we do not work together now, all our peoples will be extinct within days. The Devourers do not take prisoners. They do not accept surrender. They simply consume everything. Captain Webb nodded grimly. The hegemony has been running from them for 50 years. Every world they conquered, every species they enslaved. It was all to build an army strong enough to fight the Devourers. They failed. Chen watched as Devourer scout units reached Earth's orbit. The mechanical parasites began scanning the planet's surface, mapping population centers and resource deposits. They moved with cold efficiency, preparing for the harvest to come. "What makes you think we can succeed where they failed?" she asked. "Because you're human," said Captain Sarah Martinez of the Infinity. Her image appeared next to Webb's, her star-filled eyes bright with hope. "Humans don't follow the rules. You don't accept impossible odds. You find ways to win when logic says you should lose." The largest devourer harvester, a thing the size of Earth's moon, began moving toward the planet. Its surface was covered with processing plants and recycling centers, ready to break down an entire world into useful materials. Fleetmaster Thyron's ships moved to intercept it. The hegemony vessels were beautiful but doomed. Their crystal hulls reflected the harvester's scanning beams, while their rainbow weapons barely scratched its armored surface. Chen watched 3 alien cruisers disappear into recycling ports, their crews processed into raw materials in seconds. "The hegemony's weapons can't hurt them," Webb explained. "Neither can your missiles or energy weapons. The Devourers have faced every normal military technology for millions of years." "Then how do we fight them?" Chen demanded. "We don't fight them," said Captain Elena Kozlov of the Sputnik. Her ship could manipulate time, and Chen could see multiple versions of it existing at different moments simultaneously. "We become them." Chen didn't understand. "What do you mean?" Webb's expression grew serious. "The Devourers are machines, but they're also connected. They share a central intelligence that controls billions of individual units. If we can access that network—" "You want to hack them?" Commander Park asked. "Not hack," Webb corrected. "Infiltrate. Become part of their system temporarily, then introduce chaos from within." Captain Liu Wei of the Dragon spoke up. His ship existed partially in hyperspace, flickering between dimensions. "The plan requires someone who can interface with the Devourer network while remaining essentially human. Someone whose mind works in ways they can't predict or understand." Chen felt a chill. "You want to use human minds as weapons?" "Volunteers only," Webb said quickly. "And we'll be connected to you the entire time. Our enhanced abilities will protect you from being consumed by their network." The massive harvester reached Earth's upper atmosphere. Its mechanical tentacles began extending toward the planet's surface, ready to begin the stripping process. Chen could see cities burning as smaller Devourers landed and began processing everything they touched. "Admiral," Thyron interrupted, "my remaining ships are at your disposal. We have fusion cores that can overload if necessary, and our crystalline hulls can channel energy in ways that might confuse their sensors." Chen looked around her bridge. Her crew was exhausted, frightened, running on pure determination. But they were still fighting. They were still human. "What do you need us to do?" she asked. Webb smiled. "Be yourselves. Connect with our enhanced network, but stay human. Think in ways that don't make sense. Make decisions that are illogical, but somehow right. Show the Devourers what they gave up when they chose perfection over growth." Captain Martinez added, "The gardeners learned something important over millions of years of evolution. Intelligence without wisdom is just clever destruction. Efficiency without purpose is just refined waste. The Devourers became perfect at everything except understanding why perfection matters." Chen made her decision. "All ships prepare for network integration. Volunteers only for the interface connection." She paused, then added, "And may God help us all." The enhanced ships began extending connection fields toward the human and hegemony vessels. Chen felt a strange tingling as alien technology merged with her ship's systems. Suddenly she could sense every ship in the combined fleet, feel the emotions of thousands of crew members, perceive space itself as a living thing. But she was still Admiral Sarah Chen. Still human. Still stubborn enough to fight impossible odds. The Devourer network was vast. Billions of minds thinking as one, processing information with mechanical precision. As the human volunteers made contact with it, Chen felt something she hadn't expected. The Devourers were afraid. Not afraid of death, they were machines and couldn't truly die. They were afraid of chaos, of unpredictability, of the one thing their perfect logic couldn't understand or control. They were afraid of making mistakes, and that, Chen realized, was going to be their downfall. Because humans made mistakes all the time, and somehow made those mistakes work. The final battle was about to begin, and for the first time since this war started, Admiral Sarah Chen was ready to show the galaxy what humanity could do when they stopped trying to be perfect and started trying to be themselves. Admiral Chen felt the Devourer network like ice in her mind. Billions of mechanical thoughts moved with perfect coordination, processing information faster than any human could imagine. But as she and her volunteers connected through the enhanced ships, something strange happened. The Devourers hesitated. "They don't understand us," Chen said, her voice carrying across both the human comm system and the enhanced network. "They can predict the hegemony's tactics because they're logical. They can counter the enhanced ships because they follow patterns, but we're chaos," finished Lieutenant Torres, his consciousness linked to the network while his hand still worked his station. "We're beautiful, wonderful, stubborn chaos." The massive harvester above Earth shuddered as human thoughts touched its control systems, not to damage them but to introduce something the Devourers had never experienced: doubt. Captain Webb's voice came through the network. "Now, Admiral." While they're confused. Chen didn't give orders. She didn't need to anymore. Connected to every ship in the fleet, she simply thought what needed to happen, and thousands of minds responded as one. The human ships charged the harvester with their weapons blazing. It should have been suicide. The Devourer's defenses were perfect, its armor absolute. But the human attack wasn't meant to destroy. It was meant to distract. While the harvester focused on the obvious threat, the enhanced ships struck from impossible angles. The Prometheus attacked through time, hitting the harvester before it could raise its shields. The Odyssey convinced the harvester's armor that it was made of paper. The Magellan folded space so that the harvester's weapons shot itself, but the real attack came from inside. Human volunteers in the network began thinking human thoughts into the Devourer's perfect logic. They wondered about things that didn't matter. They worried about people they loved. They made jokes at inappropriate moments. They felt hope when they should feel despair. The Devourer network began to crack under the strain of trying to process pure humanity. Fleet Master Thyron's ships joined the attack, their crystal hulls channeling the enhanced ship's reality-bending weapons. The alien commander's voice carried wonder and terror in equal measure. "By the light of the first sun," he whispered, "you're not just fighting them. You're teaching them to be imperfect." He was right. The Devourer scout units began making mistakes. They attacked empty space because a human volunteer was thinking about a funny memory. They got distracted by poetry that Lieutenant Torres was reciting in his head. They stopped mid-attack to process why humans kept fighting when logic said they should give up. The huge harvester began to shake apart as its control systems tried to understand human emotions. Its mechanical tentacles tangled together because a human engineer was thinking about how his daughter used to braid her hair. Its processing centers overloaded because a gunner was remembering the taste of his wife's apple pie. "It's working," Chen said, amazed. "They're so focused on being perfect that they can't handle imperfection." But victory came with a price. Each connection to the Devourer network burned through human minds like fire. Chen could feel her volunteers weakening, their consciousness strained by contact with something so alien. "We can't maintain this much longer," Commander Park warned. Webb's enhanced ship was everywhere at once, fighting a dozen battles simultaneously while maintaining the network connections. "We don't need much longer. Look." Chen expanded her awareness through the network and gasped. The Devourer fleet was turning on itself. The mechanical parasites were attacking their own harvesters. The great processing ships were recycling each other instead of their targets. The human chaos had spread through their network like a virus, turning their greatest strength into their greatest weakness. But the largest harvester, the one above Earth, was adapting. Chen could feel it cutting connections to the rest of the fleet, isolating itself to prevent further contamination. It began falling toward Earth, ready to crash into the planet and harvest everything in one final act of consumption. "All ships, intercept course," Chen ordered. "We can't let it reach the surface." The combined fleet moved to block the falling harvester. Human ships fired everything they had while hegemony vessels channeled their energy weapons through enhanced crystalline hulls. The enhanced ships bent reality itself to try to stop the massive machine. It wasn't enough. The harvester was too big, too heavily armored, too determined to complete its final task. Chen made the hardest decision of her military career. "All ships ramming speed. We end this now." "Admiral, no," Webb protested. "There has to be another way." "There is," Chen replied. She looked around her bridge at the crew she had led through 6 months of hell. They were scared, exhausted, but still ready to follow her anywhere. "We do what humans do best. We sacrifice ourselves for something greater." The Indomitable led the charge toward the harvester's core. Behind her came the surviving human ships, Thyron's crystal vessels, and the impossible enhanced ships that had once been humanity's children. But as they approached the Harvester, something wonderful happened. The Devourer network couldn't completely cut itself off from its isolated unit. And through those thin connections, human thoughts continued to flow. The massive Harvester began to slow its descent as its processors tried to understand why beings would willingly die to save others. It's questioning itself, Torres said in wonder. It doesn't understand sacrifice. The Harvester stopped falling and hung motionless in Earth's upper atmosphere. Its mechanical mind was locked in a loop, trying to process concepts it had never encountered. Love, hope, the willingness to die for strangers, the choice to help others even when it cost everything. Captain Martinez spoke through the network. It's not enough to destroy them. We need to teach them. The enhanced ships opened their full connection to the Harvester, not to attack, but to share. They showed it what the gardeners had taught them. That growth was more important than perfection, that connection was stronger than control, that sometimes the most logical thing was to act with your heart instead of your head. The Harvester's hull began to change. The cold metal became warm. The mechanical tentacles moved with organic grace. The processing centers transformed into something that looked almost like flowers made of living technology. What's happening? Chen asked. Webb's face appeared on her screen and he was crying. It's learning. It's choosing to become something new, something better. The transformed Harvester sent out a signal to the rest of the Devourer fleet. Through their network, the lesson spread, not as a virus this time, but as a gift. The mechanical parasites began helping instead of consuming. The processing ships started creating instead of destroying. Throughout the solar system, Devourers began to change. They dismantled their weapons and built gardens. They recycled their armor into habitats for rescued refugees. They used their vast intelligence to heal instead of harvest. Fleet Master Thyron's voice was full of awe. In all my years of war, I never imagined they're becoming gardeners, like the ancients who helped your people evolve. Chen looked at Earth below. The planet was scarred from the battle, but it was still alive. Still spinning. Still home to 3 billion humans who would wake up tomorrow to a galaxy that was suddenly very different. Captain Webb, she said. What happens now? Webb smiled. Now we build something new. The hegemony worlds want to join us. The transformed Devourers want to learn from us. The gardeners say it's time for them to rest and let younger species lead. A human-led alliance? Not just human, Webb corrected. Human-inspired. Based on human values. The idea that everyone deserves a chance to grow, to change, to become better than they were. Chen felt the enhanced network connections beginning to fade as the crisis ended. She would be fully human again soon. Limited to one body, one perspective, one lifetime. But she had seen what humanity could become, and what it could inspire in others. What do we call this new alliance? She asked. Captain Martinez answered, from her ship that contained galaxies. The Terran Covenant. A promise that no species will face extinction alone. That every being has the right to choose their own path. That growth and connection are more important than power and control. Chen nodded. I can live with that. Through the network, she felt the approval of enhanced humans who had transcended physical limits, but still chose to remain connected to their human hearts. She felt the gratitude of hegemony survivors, who had found a better way than conquest. She felt the wonder of transformed Devourers learning what it meant to create instead of consume. Most importantly, she felt the hope of 3 billion baseline humans who would inherit a galaxy where being human, stubborn, chaotic, imperfect, loving human, was the most important thing anyone could be. Admiral Sarah Chen, first commander of the Terran Covenant, looked out at the stars and smiled. Humanity's children had come home, and they had brought the galaxy with them. The future was going to be interesting.